Welcome to Think Big with Dan and Qasim. Join hosts Dan Melnick and Qasim Masood as they explore big ideas, limitless possibilities, and engage with visionaries, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders who dare to dream big, get inspired, motivated, and find practical tips for personal growth. Think big, dream bigger, and ignite your potential.
Welcome to the Think Big with Dan and Qasim. Today, our guest is Camila. Camila, how are you doing today?
I'm great. How are you?
Good, thank you. So, Camila, let us know where you live and what you do.
I live in Los Angeles and I'm the founder of Sorry for Your Lost Cards.
Awesome, awesome. So, Camila, as you know, like founders may wear a lot of hats. So, can you let us know what are your core responsibilities? How many hats you are wearing?
I'm wearing all the hats, as I think
That's great.
most founders, just kind of interchangeably depending on the needs for the day. So I'm wearing the marketing hats, I'm wearing the strategic hats, the partnership hat, I'm wearing the tactical hat. So, it just kind of depends on what the need is for the day, essentially.
Awesome, that's great. So, can you let us know a little bit about your marketing strategy? How you are marketing your business? Because marketing is one of the essential for any business.
Yeah.
Nowadays, digital marketing is honors peak, but still companies are doing online and offline marketing both. So they're just using a mix and match of both of these marketing strategies. So how you are managing at your site?
Yeah, so I'm doing a mixture of both. So I'm doing B2B, B2C. I'm new to the B2B part. I'm happy that I've recently launched Bulletin. So that is a wholesale retailer site. So there, what I have been doing is I am reaching out to retailers, just letting them know that my cards are there. And just to take a step back, so I have created Sorry for Your Lost Cards, which is really an online community and brand for people who are experiencing grief. And as we know, grief can be from the loss of a person, which in my case is the loss of my parents, but that can also go to people who have loss of identity. Maybe you were, a big executive and you lost your job, as we've seen that people have gone through job loss now, and your identity was mostly tied to that. And now you're trying to figure out, who am I away from said job? Or maybe you've gone through a really big breakup and you're trying to see who you are outside of that, right? Grief comes in many forms. And what I found from going through my experience with grief is the fact that you really, at least for me personally, it's like I didn't really know how to ask for help, but then there were people that didn't know how to show up to support me. So really my job, as I saw it, was like, how do we bridge that gap? Because when you have people that love you, they want to take care of you and they want to support you. But sometimes when you're in the midst of that, you don't really know how to do that. And so as a communications professional, but also as someone who communication is like extremely important to me, I wanted to make it as easy as possible for people. So that's where the Sorry for Your Lost Cards came from. And the name also, where at times people always say sorry for your loss, but I wanted to take the next step and actually have an actionable things to do besides just saying sorry for your loss. Okay, now that I said sorry, what are the action steps that I can take after that, right? So to answer your question in terms of marketing, here I have cards, and the cards have my story on the back so people can understand there's a real person behind this business that has experienced the loss. And then there's QR codes so that the recipient can see some self-help tips of like, hey, you may be grieving, it's okay. Like, these are some of the things that you may experience. Like, I'm not a healthcare professional, but I'm a person that has gone through grief. So here are some things, here are some books, or here are some just resources in general. And also just letting them know the person that sent this to you does care about you, and here are some things that they want you to know. I actually also just launched a grief gift guide too. So, excuse me, not gift guide, a grief guide for the supporter to just say, hey, these are some things you can do to help take care of the person. Like maybe you want to start a meal train, kind of like how, when someone goes on pregnancy leave, right? There's all these ways you support. So this is just like kind of thinking of it from a grief perspective. So they already know how they can kind of show up. And that includes also these passes called pull-up passes. So it's like, hey, when someone says to you, I don't know what to do, then now there's something I can actually give you to just say, hey, can you just bring me some groceries? Can you watch my kids? So now we're taking the guesswork. You know exactly how to show up. And in other cases, the person can actually just not even wait. They can just say, hey, I'm going to come take your kids. I'm going to come wash your dishes. Like, people are experiencing grief and life still goes on. So they do still need your support after the service or after, kind of the condolences have left. So in terms of how I've been marketing, I've been showing up at events, right? Like, I know we have social media, but we can't really like forget that sometimes we really just need that personable touch. So that has included some specific grief events. Like, there's a really great organization here in LA called Our House. It's a grief organization that's been here for over 30 years, and they have a walk and remember. So every year they actually do like a event where you can get personalized t-shirts with your loved ones on the back. You do a 5K walk. So I was able to vend there and just sell my cards there and just talk to people there directly. I partnered with this really great event called We Go On, which is amazing. It's actually a storytelling event through live music and poetry and visual storytelling that's done by this really great man named John O in Atlanta. And he does it. It's all men that actually tell their stories about grief through those storytelling mediums. And so I was able to vend there as well. So they've been like very niche specific. And then I've been doing it on social media as well. So I know that what I'm doing is niche in some ways. So I've been trying to do that. And then also broadening the conversation to say that while grief is not necessarily a mental health condition, it's very much a part of mental health. So I want to make sure we're broadening the conversation to say like, hey, this is a part of your mental health and your mental well-being. So it can impact those things. So how do we insert it into the conversation as well? So that's my 85-minute answer to how I've been marketing my business.
That's a concrete answer. In fact, I was wondering, do you segregate your educational campaign from the marketing? I'm not sure if educational campaigns are spreading awareness. Is your marketing? I'm not sure like how you consider it, because I believe in your work, a lot of work is just spreading the awareness. So how you're managing the spreading of awareness and your marketing? Like, obviously awareness campaigns are part of the marketing, but not the whole market.
Yeah, it's interesting. Honestly, I'm still trying to figure that out in a lot of ways, right? Because for me, I feel like the education is the core, because that's what I think is like the biggest place right now. It's like the educational piece is like, what is grief? How are people experiencing it? And how do we spider away from it? So I see the education piece being the core. And then from the core, how do we spider web to reach like these relevant kind of groups, essentially? That's how I'm navigating it right now. And then seeing like, are these useful tools for like certain demographics? Like, okay, do we get a little bit more niche where it's like funeral homes or, mental health establishments? Like, what does that look like? But right now I'm just seeing the educational piece being more of the nucleus, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that completely makes sense. All right. So just from my understanding, can you guide me what is the process of customer acquisition? Because in your case, even customer base is a pretty different customer base. So like, what's the process of customer acquisition and how you onboard them?
So it's been different. So let's say it is a B2, I would say B2C is probably the easiest way right now, right? Because it's just more so niche. Because I think right now where my biggest challenge is that people are kind of like, okay, I don't know when I might need this, because I think most people are thinking of it, okay, of like a loss of a person, right? So the biggest onboarding right now is like, okay, like I said, at the grief event. So the onboarding is more like, okay, I have my customer acquisition at, let's say, a B2C event. And then once I acquire them there, now I'm checking in with them to kind of see okay, if you shared an anniversary, like let me now from a newsletter perspective, now also from a social media perspective, also like trying to integrate them into like, hey, I'm trying to do more like focus group things to kind of get their thoughts on, do they want to participate in events? Do they want to give feedback about certain things, especially because I'm in the starting phase? So do they want to come along on this founder journey with me so that I'm taking them into consideration, right? To have them be like a part of it while I'm still scaling my business. So that's the journey that I'm taking them on now at this moment. But the goal really is that I want to have people think about it in the sense of like, okay, this is a business that's based in empathy. So it doesn't need to necessarily be like, I lost a person. If you're thinking about somebody and you know that they're going through a difficult time, that doesn't necessarily have to be because, hey, they suffered the loss of a person. They could be grieving or they could be going through a tough time. Like my best friend, for example, knows that I do not have my mother. So she sent me around Mother's Day a beautiful card that just was like, sent me all these really, really nice words. And like, I literally like wept. It was just like, oh my gosh, it was like so unexpected. And like, she probably spent like $6 on the card, but it's probably like one of the most meaningful things that I've gotten. And it's though everyone is not necessarily a person that has an appreciation for those types of things. However, it's like just thinking about those small things where like, okay, if someone has been unemployed for a year, are you thinking about that person so that you're sending them things to maybe uplift them and send them things? So I want people to get more in the mindset of thinking about it regularly versus just like, well, they experienced this loss this one time, or someone lost, like I lost my dad 3 years ago, but I lost my mother 24 years ago. Like the loss of my mother doesn't get any less significant, just more time has passed. So it doesn't mean that I'm not appreciative of getting things 24 years later. It still is a significant loss. And I think that's the biggest thing that ends up happening is that the time goes on and it's not that people purposely forget or that they don't care. It's just we're not programmed to think about it past a certain time frame because in American culture, it's not something we do. Like my dad is Jamaican and in other cultures, the way that death and ancestors are celebrated are very different than in American culture where it's something we very much shy away from.
Yeah, completely makes sense. Awesome. Camila, can you guide us a little bit about the goals? I'm sure you must have short-term and long-term goals. Can you guide us, like, what are your short-term and the long-term goals?
Sure. So from a short-term capacity, I mean, my short-term goals are just really like, again, from an educational standpoint, to open up people to be more empathetic. Like, yes, the goal is obviously to make money. Like, that's right. That's part of my goal. But like, I know that my purpose, this is a purpose-driven business as well. Like, I am here to help people. Like, I've been transformed by this. Like, I was previously a vice president of public relations that used to work in film and TV publicity. If you watched it on streaming, if you saw it in a movie theater up until 2022, I worked on it, right? Like I used to be on red carpets, etc. And I literally, etc., excuse me, and I stepped away from it because I had like such a life-changing event in my life. And I never thought I would. Like, I thought that's something that I would be doing for the rest of my life. And I now know that this is like my purpose-driven work. And I would love to still even partner in that way with like things like that. Like there are a ton of TV shows that have like grief as a theme to it. And in a lot of ways, we don't really go that much in depth. Like Shrinking is like one of my favorite shows. It has a comedic tone to it. And Cross on Amazon TV, that even touches upon grief. And you have like this really highly intelligent detective, but he's not delving into the grief of his wife being murdered. Like there's so many different shows and even films that are touching upon it, but not really going beneath the surface that much. So short term wise, I want to ensure that we are having grief be something that is in our general lexicon and we're not afraid to talk about it because it's going to happen to everyone if they have not encountered it. Long term, my goal is to really make long term change where we are having the same kind of that you have for maternal and paternal leave for bereavement leave as well. And it's not a versus. I love babies. It's nothing against that, but people need more than 3 days to grieve the loss. I mean, there are studies that show that companies lose billions of dollars due to due to grief that people experience and how they're unable to perform when they go back to work. And then also the retaliation that a lot of people undergo when they do go on mental health leave because they're unable to perform when they go back to work. So it's like allow people to take the time off that they need because some people just are not mentally able to go back. It's not that they don't want to, but you don't the difference is that you cannot see the mental scars, and our culture is very much rooted in push through, push through, push through. And as someone who has historically pushed through, I literally pushed through 20 some odd years of my mother's death without coping with it. Sometimes you hit a wall and you just have to actually take care of your mental health. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with tending to your mental health so that you're able to function for yourself first and then be able to perform to the best of your ability. So that is my ultimate goal, is to make grief not an ugly word. It's a part of our life experiences and we should not be afraid to talk about it.
That's great. Awesome. So, Camila, let me know, what do you think about the success? So, or maybe how you measure the success for you or for your business?
Right now, my measure of success is obviously based on, my customer base. We're talking about financially. So one of the great things I will say is that when people do purchase cars, they are purchasing multiple cars. So that is amazing. I'm looking forward to see more of like what that retention rate is looking like, because of course, like I said, I want it to be more so about like not just the fact that it's happening once, but multiple times. So I'm hoping that as the expansion now with the wholesale retail relationship, that will happen. And so that is a way in terms of how I plan on measuring my success with my business. And then another measure that has been just so excellent is just the community that is formed and the conversation is open. Like whenever I talk to anyone about my business, I'm having so many people talk to me about their experiences, their losses, and just like the relatability factors and how they've not had the conversations with people, or like how they feel comfortable. And one person gave me the most excellent compliment. They were just like, when you walk in the room, I feel like community walks in with you. And that is like one of the best and most amazing feelings that I've ever had, or compliments that I've been paid. And so that to me is a measure of success, because I think that we need to, and we can all benefit from having more community, because there's nothing that you can be successful at without having community behind you.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Well, thank you, Kamala. At the end, can you please give us the biggest piece of advice for our viewers? By the way, in our viewers, most of our viewers are entrepreneurs, are the ones who are planning to start their business.
I'll say what my dad said when I had a PR business in mind initially before everything happened to my dad. And I was like, my dad was an entrepreneur and I was so against it. Okay. I was like, I like that my United States dollars get deposited into my account every 2 weeks. He was a contractor and I was like, you have to chase people about money and things. I was like, I do not like it. I like the structure of a job, right? And so when I was talking to him about it, he was just like, I fought it all my life, okay? And when I finally was just kind of thinking about taking the dive, he's like, just start. Literally said, just start. Break it up into pieces and just start. And I think that is the greatest piece of advice he could have given me, and literally something I still follow, because I think like when you look at the sum of all the parts, and especially for someone like me who is A, over analytical, B, overthinks every single thing, it can be so overwhelming to think about. And also just think about like as a founder, granted, some businesses are not all going to succeed. We're all out here wanting to, listen, we all need food, shelter, and all the things. But like we're still part of an elite team. Think about yourself being like an NBA player, NFL, like the amount of people that actually create businesses and actually like will take the step to create a product or a service and try to do it. So the fact that you have the gall, the wisdom, the guts to start it in the first place is the success. So that's what I would say.
Well, that's a beautiful, beautiful advice. So, at the end, please let your viewers know how they can reach you if someone wants to reach you. You can share your website,
Yeah.
social media, whatever you want to.
Okay, sure, absolutely. So the website is Sorry for Your Lost Cards, and Facebook. I play over Facebook and Instagram at Sorry for Your Lost Cards as well. I'm an elder millennial, so I'll say that because the TikToker is still figuring that out. So Facebook and Instagram, best places to find me.
Awesome, awesome. Well, Camila, huge thanks for joining us today and sharing your valuable insights. We will stay in touch, and thanks again for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Camila. Have a good day. Bye bye.
You too. Okay, bye bye.